1943, the world was gripped in the middle of the horror that we know as World War II. The United States of America, as it had been for over a century, was a shining beacon of hope and liberty to nations under the siege of truly demonic forces led by men such as Hitler, Hirohito, Mussolini. This book that I'm going to show you today, Statue of Liberty, Enlightening the World, appeared against that backdrop, paying honor to that iconic image of freedom. You know, I'm always on the lookout for unusual books or rare books for my little library, and this small 40-page volume certainly qualifies. Maybe not rare, but difficult to find if you were looking for it. It's, I believe, was a limited edition. It appears to have been produced in small numbers. It was written by Rodman Gilder, and the book was published by the New York Trust Company and printed in letterpress and photogravure by William E. Rudges and Sons. There are a few from the dedication, and it says, I quote, the New York Trust Company wishes to make special acknowledgement to Harry T. Peters for his valued counsel and for access to his superb collection of prints, to George H. Eckert for his guidance, and to the author Rodman Gilder, Director, American Scenic and Historic Preservation Society, Trustee, New York Society Library, Trustee, City History Club, past members of the Art Commission, City of New York, and the author of The Battery, end quote. Of the origin of the idea, the author had this to say. In 1865, a little group of French men of letters, artists and politicians met at the home of Edouard René de Labarge, and I know I said that wrong, near Versailles in France. Of all Frenchmen, only Lafayette had exceeded Labarge in his love for the United States, and it was said that the mantle of that hero descended upon his shoulders. Better than any of his countrymen, he recognized the bond of a common love for liberty that existed between the people of France and the United States, and it was decided that the French should give the Americans some token that would be a symbol of eternal friendship, end quote. Pretty amazing when you look at this against the backdrop of today, where we just kind of pushed France under the bus with the nuclear submarine deal. And the sculptor was Auguste Bartholdi, who was with the group that met in Versailles. His previous work had included an amazing sculpture, Lafayette. The book includes one of his preliminary sketches of the proposed statue, looking very much like the finished product did. Now, Mr. Gilder explained the artist's visualization as, and again I will quote, it was conceived by the artist to be a colossus on a pedestal. Bartholdi was resolved that it should not seem colossal except to those who came near it at the base. It was to be larger than any known statue, ancient or modern. But in the immense picture surrounding it, in a harbor all of 20 square miles in area, it was to appear simply in harmony with the whole and have the normal aspects of a statue in a public square, end quote. Oh, and he actually selected the site for the statue himself, where it would be placed. Money for the Liberty's construction came from ordinary citizens, deputies, cabinet officers, and popular old presidents of the Republic, Marie Edem Patrice Maurice McMahon, a hero of the Crimean War. The city of Paris itself gave $2,000. America was loved, not just in France, but throughout the world, for what we stood for. The fund was not large enough to complete the whole work in time for the Philadelphia Exposition in 1876, but the right forearm and torch were there for more than 9 million visitors to see, and displayed for a short time in New York before returning to Paris in 1884. Now all this is detailed in this marvelous little volume. The text throughout this book is full of fascinating facts that I found surprising. For example, the head of the statue was exhibited in Paris before being shipped to the United States in New York, and then being returned again to Paris in 1884 evidently for completion of the statue. Another fact is that the model Bartholdi used was none other than his own mom. So he paid great homage to his own mother there. He must have loved her a great deal. Another fascinating fact deals with the copper of which the Liberty is covered with. As the book puts it, the noble rust, as Italians call it, which gives copper and bronze so beautiful a surface color, has, aided by the salt-laden air of New York Harbor, covered the Statue of Liberty with a malachite green that does not disintegrate the metal as rust devours iron. The iron skeleton of the statue was designed by the noted bridge builder Alexander Gustav Eiffel, the same man, you guessed it, who built the Eiffel Tower. And I didn't know that. That's pretty interesting. The statue, weighing about 220 tons, of which copper weighed about 88 of those tons, was dismantled with the sections numbered and packed in 210 wooden crates and loaded on the steamship Idsere, Idsere, which set sail for New York on May 21st, 1885. The statue was dedicated on October 28, 1886. New York City declared that a holiday, A grand military and civic parade was reviewed during the forenoon at Madison Square by President Grover Cleveland and other United States dignitaries. The truly amazing little book, it truly is, and it reproduces two stanzas written by John Greenleaf Whittier, and I would like to read those to you now. Unlike the shapes on Egypt's sands, uplifted by the toil-worn slaves, on freedom's soil with freeman's hands we rear the symbol free hands gave. Rise, stately symbol, holding forth thy light and hope to all who sit in chains and darkness. Belt the earth with watchfires, from thy torch uplift. The Statue of Liberty stood there in New York Harbor and watched a parade of world events that the United States of America helped give freedom to people around the world in these events. World War I, World War II, the Korean War, the Vietnam War. It stood there proudly, but sadly, as the Twin Towers were obliterated by our enemies. And yet it stands proud, and it stands showing the grace and freedom that the United States of America still has, and hopefully will still have as we go forward into the future. I hope that you've enjoyed this look at this little book and at some of the illustrations that were in it, or that are in it, and I thank you for stopping by. On my bookshelf are many wonderful volumes, some rare, some not rare, that can take me and you to any place in time and space. But tonight, why don't you pick out a good book, settle down, cozy up in a chair, and take a trip someplace exotic and exciting. Listen, I love you all very much. I thank you for stopping by, and God bless you.